Try faster. Oh, shit.
Today I'm with Adam Christo and we are comparing two dampers on this 1999 Mini Cooper. We have these old dampers here which are, give them a compress, not working very well is the polite term, and these new ones which are very solid. Give that a go. So that is going to transform the ride, and we'll show you some footage before and after over the same bump to compare the capabilities of modern technology. So, the old damper is now off, and if you give it a pull for us...
Well, it's not actually doing what it should be, because normally it should release.
Yeah.
And actually, I shouldn't be strong enough to be able to do that.
No.
And so...
it's a light car, but it's not that light.
Yeah. So, I don't know the age of this, but we've been recommended some other dampers from Croydon Mini, so...
That'll be close to 20 years old now.
So this is so it could be 22 years old. This is a 1999 BRSCC Mini Cooper S. It's a Japanese import, but it's been brought back to the UK, and I was lucky enough to get it at auction. It keeps bottoming out on the arches, and so basically we are trying to stop that by fitting a fresher, newer, more modern damper, but that should be naturally coming out and returning. So
and it's just those two mounting points, so one is in the boot,
that's where that normally is,
stuck that, and then there's just a little chassis,
a little button goes on top there, and a nut. I'm no expert, just to clarify that. I really have no idea what I'm doing.
This is not recommendation. Do not follow these instructions.
I am pulling it apart and hopefully putting it back together in the same order that I pulled it apart in.
Yeah.
And then on the bottom, that goes on to the back of the upright.
Inside mount there.
That swings up, and then that goes through the chassis, which is what you saw a second ago.
And we've got this very intriguing sort of horizontal spring system with the adjustable ride height, I'm told that is.
You can see the push rod goes into the back. The reason we're doing this is because I just want to stiffen up the suspension, because right now the wheel keeps hitting the arch, and I think that's because this is doing nothing right now. I don't want to raise the back of the car because I don't want the car to have loads of rake in it. So what I'm doing is hopefully just stiffening the rear so that it keeps its platform but just doesn't smash.
You'll see from the footage here that the damper is not returning properly. The new dampers will go on and you'll see a direct comparison later on.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed indeed.
It works. That I can push in using my hands.
Yeah.
Whereas that, I don't think I can. And
a lot more force.
This one returns.
Yes, I think that's the big thing.
So these are KYB gas adjust. This is just what we've been recommended. I'm kicking myself that I've already got them dirty. But
give them a clean later.
Yeah, we'll give them a little clean.
The first side fitted, the rear right and the trial run done, and now we're going to do the others, and the left rear has the additional complication of the fuel tank being in the way. So if you look in the boot, you'll see one bolt that will remove, shimmy the tank over, and it should be just as simple as the other.
It's mad, isn't it? Let that sink in. There's one bolt holding the fuel tank.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have disconnected the battery first. That's smart, isn't it?
They're actually sitting about 25 mil higher than they were before, but we're hoping and assuming that they're going to settle down by about 10-15 mil, and then after that we'll come back and adjust to Adam's preferences. These are the new dampers for the front, and slightly different to the rear. The top does not go through the chassis into the bonnet area. They both mount underneath, one to the bottom and one at the top there. So same as the rears.
Not looking pretty. They've cracked all around the rubber bushes, but also
easily compressed by hand and not returning at all. The new ones, you will...
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Returning swiftly, hard to compress. Should be a much more sporty ride. Whoa! Didn't dampen that, did it?
Drop it like it's hot.
Oh! That's the last wheel on. Now time for a test drive and see how the thing settles and performs. Keep watching to see the comparison and if Adam has wasted his money.
Cheers, mate.
You're welcome. So we're just measuring the front ride height at the moment to measure how much it settles in to its travel.
So that's gone up to 85, so that's gone up 30 millimeters. So this is at 7.5, so this is a centimetre low. This is to the arch, so obviously the arch probably isn't straight to the chassis.
No. Gone for a quick test drive. First impressions?
It feels more solid, like less rattly, and it feels a bit more direct. I don't know whether that's just me wanting it to feel better.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Or whether it is an improvement at the moment, but we're just going to go to our favourite bump and go over there at the same speed and see what the recovery is like. What I have noticed, I feel higher up on the road. Like before I felt like I was sat lower. I know it's only what, 20 mil at most.
Yeah,
on average
it feels like a big difference.
Yeah.
So we've been slightly further down the road and we're saying it feels more responsive, getting a bit more feedback, and you're saying about the chassis.
Yeah, like part of me is thinking, okay, obviously the damper is stiffer versus what we've taken off it, and even though to Will it felt like it was a little loose around one of the corners that we just went around, to me it felt more secure. Again, I don't know whether it's just because I know it's a new damper, but part of me is, I don't know, it feels more solid. Like when I hit a bump before, you'd hear it and you'd feel it through the chassis. I don't know whether that's because maybe it's bottoming out in the bump stops. Maybe that's the extra ride height that has helped. I'm actually finding drains just to drive over, just to try and like notice the difference. So we're almost at
our controlled test.
Our controlled test. Well, we'll be doing exactly 30 mile an hour because that's what we were doing the other day, and that's when it was bottoming out in the arches. I'm 100% sure it's not going to bottom out on the arches this time, just because the ride height is already, I think it's at least 25 mil higher on average over the whole car. And so I think we'll let it settle. We've measured the ride heights on the driveway and we will see what it does tomorrow, like after it settles in the garage for the evening. We're off to Goodwood tomorrow actually, so I think that will hopefully be enough to really get the thing
some long compression, some quick responsive bumps, and see how it feels. And I think with the 30 mile an hour test we did, where it was sort of two different bumps, where the shock wasn't returning before, was really amplifying that second bump. So it'd be interesting now to feel what it's like. Control test. Brace yourself.
It definitely recovered better.
It definitely recovered so much better. It wasn't bouncing as we went down.
There was no thud.
It felt like it went sort of higher though. Like it definitely compressed less. felt like the initial lip we felt more, but it just recovered much faster. So that's interesting. We'll see what the off-board shots look like. So we've had a bit more time with the dampers now. On our drive down to Goodwood for a car meet, there are some beautiful classic cars, as you can see. So how are you thinking they're performing on the motorway, and now we're on some bumpier single track roads?
Honestly, I am so happy it's completely transformed the car. Yesterday I was like a little unsure of what the difference was, but driving it around last night over the speed bumps in the local area, it feels more like a modern car now. I always felt that I had to hold my breath or even lift my bum out of the seat if I came to a bump, which I thought was going to be a little harsh, whereas I think talking about what we believe the differences are is the older damper was an oil-filled damper.
Yes.
And so maybe it wasn't meant to return, or we're a little unsure because it's so old, whereas the modern damper is full of gas, and so it seems to, obviously when we compressed it, it seemed to then slowly return back.
Added a bit of spring rate effectively as well, sort of stiffen the springs with the air damper and added a more modern damping system. So yeah, maybe they weren't meant to return, but I think we're better for it now. Exactly.
So I think obviously it has increased the ride height, and I'm a little unsure. I'm like, do I lower the thing again or not? But actually it's funny how yesterday I thought, oh no, it's far too high. Whereas now, actually, I think the stance of it on the spring and seeing a little bit more of the tyre, actually, it looks like it actually suits the arch a little bit better.
Yeah, it looks like it's less of a modded car and actually sits more how I'd expect factory would sit. And the ride is certainly improved. So we'll try and figure out if it was sort of bumping against the bump stops and where the issue was before, work out how it actually moves within its travel. But overall, I think we're pretty pleased.
Oh, definitely a thumbs up. I'm so happy with it. I'm now thinking, right, what's the next thing I can do to maybe improve the ride or the handling? What I want to do at some point is soundproof the inside of the car, because it's a little bit too loud and throaty, and so I struggle to hold a phone conversation in here, whereas
business car.
Yeah, exactly. It's got the air filter on it, and I could put it back to standard, but I don't think that's how the BRSCC limited edition minis went. I think this is how I believe it's how it is. Maybe I'd need to do a little bit more research, but I don't want to put. I like the outside noise. I just want it to be a little bit quieter on the inside. Yeah,
but we've certainly eliminated some rattles and sort of vibrations from the damper, because as well, where the rubbers were perished, that's obviously causing some little knocking and damping.
It feels like a more solid car. It's incredible how
it feels more modern, is what. I keep thinking.
like you said, like there's a few less rattles and hold on a sec. And we are at 30 mile an hour.
Yeah. So you have not wasted your money?
No, definitely, didn't waste the money. No, really happy with it. I recommend anyone that's got a Mini on some really old 22-year-old dampers, 23-year-old dampers, it's a very worthy little upgrade to do.
Yeah. We're on our way back from that fantastic drive down and car meet at Goodwood, and we're now on our way to our special control bump area where you can see the difference between the new and the old dampers, and let us know what you think. Is it better? Has it improved as much as you think? It certainly feels much better in the cockpit, but off board, does it still look like it's bouncing? Let us know. So Adam also wants to know.
So obviously putting these dampers on has definitely raised the ride height of the car, and we've got adjustment on the suspension.
For the ride height?
Yeah, for the ride height, and just with the push rods. And so now I'm thinking, well, I think it's raised it 25-30 millimeters. I'm unsure whether I try and lower it back down or whether I keep it higher up. Like, if you look at it, I'm thinking, now does the wheel actually look better in the arch because it's a little further away and the curve looks a little bit nicer or not? So I'm intrigued to see what everyone else's thoughts are. Do we think it's better as it is with the higher ride height? Does it look better, or when it was slammed?
So that was miles better. No chattering, no sort of cracking, horrible noises. Much smoother ride.
Yeah, for sure. And also the recovery of it was better. The main thing was no like smashing into the bodywork. It's that was upsetting me in the past, because all I was thinking is I'm going to lose my wheel arches at some point and potentially like bend the bodywork. So
didn't make you wince like it did before. You were bracing for impact before, and the car was too.
Let's try faster. Oh shit! okay, maybe that was a little too much.
We found our limit there. Okay.
I think that might have been about 45, which is...
In terms of direct comparisons, yeah. That was the same feeling, but much faster.
I don't know.
I even think that felt better, even at that speed.
Did it bottom out, or is that just something in the back of the car, like, floating around
I
because
don't
we
know.
took off?
I don't think it did bottom out, but I mean, it wasn't the most pleasant experience ever for passengers or car. But yeah.
Anyway, I would not have gone at that speed in the past.
No, God no.
I guess that's a combination of better damping, higher ride height, which I've actually now got used to. Now it's obviously settled a little bit versus yesterday, and I think the wheel seems to sit in the arch a lot nicer.
I think, it looks more natural. It's about 10 mil, it's settled from yesterday. It looks natural, looks good, and obviously riding much better. More confidence, I think, is the big thing. And again, much better, smooth, pleasant.
Like, obviously we still lift up, which is expected over the hump.
You're going to follow the road,
It just doesn't smash into the arches anymore.
And once it's over the bump, it's dealt with it and it sort of forgets about it, where it seemed to have that memory before. Here we have a before and after, so I'll play them both in full speed first and then a slow-mo side by side. But the things to look out for are the speed at which it recovers, and also watch our bodies in the corners, because they're very illustrative of how bouncy it is.
Before we start, we ended up on the dash, it was showing at about 35 mile an hour, and basically in all clips we made sure that we stayed at the same speed all the time, just to try and make it as fair or to compare as best as possible.
Same speed, same position on the bump, all of that. Controlled variables, as they say. Before and after. So if you watch before, you can see our bodies and it dives up, and after it's dealt with and we're still bouncing in the before.
Yeah, so just as Will mentioned, you can see the comparison, the recovery on the new damper is a lot better. So it seems that it's one bounce and then it recovers, whereas the before, our bodies keep on bouncing up and down for 2 or 3 goes until it eventually settles.
And you can see from the off-board footage as well, and we'll try and show that to you now, is the new damper it recovers on the bounce and then neutralises straight away, whereas on the old one it actually goes down when it recovers from the bump and then all the way back up, so it's not really damping the motion as it is meant to, and that's why you see the big oscillations from our bodies there, bigger and much longer bounces compared to the other side.
So you can hear the impact. You can hear whether it's the bodywork or the damper bottoming out during the first one versus the second clip. So we'll just go straight back to that. So this one you hear the bodywork bottoming out. The second one, you don't hear it as much. And you also hear me go, oh, because obviously I felt the shock through my body.
The other thing I noticed filming off-board is I couldn't actually hear when the car had gone over the bump, whereas previously I could hear it chatter or something bang, whereas now, filming the new damper, you couldn't tell when it had gone over the bump. Just so much more composed. To see how I improved another car, my XB150 GR Yaris, press here and please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.